Hey Dave, long time no see.
Hey, how you doing, Trey?
Pretty good. Drew, looking sharp.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Mm-mm.
Julian, how the renos going?
The what?
The renos, the renovations.
Oh, I haven't seen anyone back there for a few weeks.
Have you those pictures that you shoot of like whatever, like raw walls and wiring, is that your renovation, or is that just random construction sites that you're going into?
It's all AI, dude. No, it's going in the back, like looking around,
That's
going
awesome.
to random construction sites.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past you. You're always shooting all kinds of crazy random things in your Instagram stories. I figure you'd probably be like, "Oh, look,
Oh, what you doing back there, man?
there's a hole where a window should be. Let me just crawl in here and see what's up."
Yeah. That's all. It's always interesting to see. Yeah, just all the little bits. Like, oh, they've got some hose going around
Yeah.
there. Alrighty. See what's going on here.
So I don't know if it means anything, Julian, but when the response email I got when I confirmed with Luma, when I clicked the link in there, it took me to a different link. So I'll
The
get
link,
more detailed information for you, but maybe that's something to
the
figure.
link took you to a different link. What do you mean when you clicked what?
So I did, there's a, you've been approved. Thank you for joining. You've been approved, to join. Here's the link, the Luma link. And when I clicked that, it started the Zoom, but then it said this meeting was scheduled for, I think, July 25th. I think that's what it said. And I waited a bit and then I shut that down. And then I went to the more recent one, which was sent like this morning or whatever, and a reminder email. And that one worked, which that's how I got here. And I'll
Okay.
double check all this, but I just want to mention that.
Yeah, let me see, because it could entirely be that I when you yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when you there'll be like a remnant link or something like that, and when you like clone the event, which is meant to make it easier for you to just kind of duplicate the same event, the clone will be like, "Oh, yeah, I'll clone this. You mean Wednesday at 10:30 a.m.?" It's like, "What?" No, every week it's been Friday. It's not this. You're not a clone. You're a clone with a genetic defect.
Well, as someone who
Dollar to
dabbles
keep with an
in
extra head. Like, no, it's not a clone.
Well,
Just
since you're someone who dabbles in sci-fi, you should know not to trust the clones, right?
and I usually try to look at it closely, but oftentimes I'm kind of like, oh fuck, I gotta put the thing up. I
Uh,
forgot about that. And it'll be 12:30 a.m. On a Tuesday, and not everything's working right. But other people seem to be showing up, so that's somewhat encouraging. Yeah, that I didn't screw it up completely. The other thing is like I was like, oh, usually I can go to Zoom directly and not go to Luma, and Zoom will be like, "Yep, you got your 2 minutes, it's starting," and you click the button. I went there and I was like, "There's nothing there," so I panicked. I was like, "Did I even put the Zoom link in?" Because oftentimes I'll do that. That's not, doesn't always work out as part of the back office operations flow, where it's just like, let me just get the event in Luma, and after lunch I'll go fucking jujitsu with Zoom to try to get it to just give me a link, and then I have lunch, and it's like a double pastrami, and I'm kind of like, oh, take a nap. Not really. Although I am thinking about pastrami because I'm going to go meet a friend for a pastrami sandwich today for lunch at Johnny's.
I ate a spam sandwich today. I got a hankering for spam, and I ordered it last time I went shopping.
I
And
haven't heard that from a grown adult in a long time.
I know,
Oh,
right?
it's
And,
just
and I haven't heard, you haven't heard it from me for 20 years, but I tried spam again. I remember I had a nostalgic moment.
Yeah.
was it everything
In
you
the
thought it would be?
blue 10?
It was everything I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
I
I
don't think I've
remember.
ever had it. Never had
Well, I'm
spam.
not recommending it. Like, like when you read the ingredients, you like don't read the ingredients. Let me
Oh
just put it
man,
that way.
did some spam masubi recently. It's so good.
I'm a big fan of spam. We have a whole bunch of varieties of it, and we had like a spam cook off a couple of summers ago. We
Wait,
just
there are
tried all the
varieties like
there's
like
spam, click, for like different brands. Sorry, different brands of
On the same thing,
same
whatever.
thing. I thought it might have been like
like
you know how these
flavored or something.
I was in a normal human supermarket the other day, and I was like, I was looking for the woven wheat style cracker, Triscuit, the brand
Hmm.
name. And I was like, oh, here are the Triscuits. I was like, holy moly. Like
Every
they've gone
flavor.
brand expansion, every flavor,
Yeah.
rosemary, garlic, cracked pepper. You know, kind of like, well, what's happened? It's my sea
a couple
salt.
good
I was like,
ones.
what about just
Yeah.
salt? I think it's like, whoa.
Himalayan sea
Even
salt.
spam doing that, just like sriracha went off the hook and did all kinds of different flavors. Oh,
Sriracha, of course.
Yeah, just stick with the OG one. Holy geez, Kemp is in the
Jalapeno.
room. Haven't seen you in a while.
I invited him. He just texted me, so I passed him the link. He was interested in seeing what we're up to.
Nice.
Must be
All right, so we've
scintillating.
got-
We talk about spam in this group.
That's right.
You know
Jesus,
what?
happened?
My side project is spam, so I'm gonna
That's the old format. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys.
toast and mustard.
Hey, Kemp. Good to hear you.
Yeah,
Good
what's
to
good
see
with
you
you?
all. I'm trying to get my video. This is a new format and I'm on my phone. Where is the video? Let's see. Video. Nope. Bear with me. I am in a car in the back of a coffee shop in a parking lot in Albany, New York.
Awesome. Hope you're enjoying the smoke that Canada is sending your way.
That's still happening.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Milwaukee was covered yesterday.
Okay, so we got 3 presentations. Cherry Brent Benson doesn't seem to be here unless they are disguised with a different name. So we'll pass on them for the moment. And David,
Hey, that's me.
that's you.
How's it going?
It's good. You good to share?
Yeah, I'm good. You guys usually do a screen share for this?
It's up to you, but typically, yeah, I think
Okay.
something to show and something to talk about. And since this is your first time, we do like 10 minutes and then 20 or so minutes of discussion.
Okay, great.
Cool.
So appreciate the opportunity here, folks. I've been inspired by some of the previous sessions I've attended where people have talked about the ABCs of solar punk and this kind of notion of bringing in, this speculative design stuff into writing a book. And I've got an idea for a book, and kind of a draft script, which don't worry, I'm just going to sort of use this as a guide. I'm not going to beat you over the head with it, but essentially it's an adult book for kids. And it's called Darius the CIO. Darius the Chief Imagination Officer is what CIO stands for. Thinking it would be for kids that would be kind of in the range of 6 to 12. The idea being like the 6 to 8 would be mainly read with an adult, like with their parent, and then when they're kind of getting closer to like the 10, 12 age range, they'd read it themselves. And essentially, like I came to this like I was doing these presentations, and I would do like a day in the life of a role in the year 2040, and that was kind of my favorite part of doing these presentations was kind of thinking through what that might look like. And so I kind of just took the themes that I was coming back to, and I put a different angle or a different spin on them, and I kind of reframe them as like a children's story. So I'll walk you through the high level. I'm still working on the script. I'm not a writer, so that's one of my big challenges is kind of making it actually good. But essentially, Darius, he's the chief imagination officer of a city called Tomorrowland. Okay, he cares for his main job is to care for something called the Wonder Loop, which is the kind of core system that all the citizens of Tomorrowland they populate by supplying their ideas. So they give their ideas to the Wonder Loop. Okay, and the Wonder Loop basically helps the city run. Like I'm kind of not I haven't fleshed that all out yet. I'm not sure how far I actually need to go in terms of you know, that aspect of the story. But Darius cares for the Wonder Loop. He's got an assistant called Navi. The assistant is like an array of bots that can kind of reassemble in whatever format, usually a bunny. So it's like his AI assistant has a body of like these like nano drones that kind of assembles as a bunny or can disperse and do tasks. Um, and that's kind of those are the main characters. And so the book kind of starts with this issue, like the Wonder Loop input signal is low. So like there's something jamming up the ideas. The flow of ideas is not working. So he needs to go on a quest to figure out what the cause of this jam up is. Okay. Um, I'll skip by this one. Uh, they work, Navi and Darius work in a lab that kind of improvises. It's like a biotic lab. It's a grown lab, and it grows new hallways, grows new rooms, depending on what needs to happen in the story. And so, sort of at the starting of the story, more or less, a hallway grows, and they walk down it. While they're going down it, there's this kind of solar flare that affects the systems. But the systems kind of repair themselves, and we get into like self-healing infrastructure a little bit. The hallway leads to a room that has a quantum prediction computer, and it's kind of misfiring as well. So they try to play with it a little bit, keep spitting out paradoxes. Tomorrow occurred yesterday. Please retry in 8.3 hours. Stuff like this, kind of all just going through different vignettes or different scenes until they kind of reach the crescendo or um, the main yeah where the problem actually lies. They take a break. They have lunch with legal. So the lab's AI models are requesting paid leave for self upgrades, and the legal bot is trying to figure this out. And so they have this kind of like conference, and they decide to grant them. Then they take a trip to a server grove, which is kind of like in a cold part, like south of the city, and to talk about data centers a little bit, and the fact that they need cold to thrive. And then we kind of sort of get a little bit closer to what the root cause is. Make a stop at something called the trust tree, where there's an issue with a bad logic beetle, and then uh, they they reach the kind of the pinnacle or the crescendo of the story is they meet this dragon. It's like kind of I try to make it kind of classic with these storytelling elements as much as possible. It's a cybersecurity dragon. They have to give it some proof, and then they get unlock it unlocks a gate, and they kind of go into this last area, and they're able to figure out and solve the issue essentially, where Darius is interacting with his digital twin, and they solve the problem together. There was a feedback cycle that was tied in a knot essentially, so they untie it together, and that's like that's the resolution in the story, and then kind of fades out with, you know, the system's performing well, and so that's kind of the overarching narrative. I need to kind of massage things like the dialogue and everything, so that's why I'm kind of speeding over it. Each of these segments is going to have, of course, the core text. Then there's going to be a reader's note, which is meant to be kind of like the adult explaining things to the adult, but also allowing the adult to kind of explain any concepts that are present within the body of the story. There's an activity that can also be done at each of the stages, so they can have a discussion, the kid and the adult, while they're reading. And then I included, I may or may not actually have like a reference to something like a real article or real signal, but I have one for each of them that kind of corroborates some of the underlying technology, or where the state of the technology. But I might just put that all into a oops, sorry. I might put that all into like a table of contents at the end type of thing. But that's the idea. I want this to be like a little book that kind of demystifies and provides a little bit of technology literacy, although it's couched in a bit of fantasy and stuff. And the overall purpose, I guess, is trying to help people realize that, I guess, something that's very like core to this group, or like imagination. I'll quote Julian: "Imagination is our competitive advantage." Right. So I want that to be like the core message, is like, don't be scared about this technology future. As long as you are focusing on like imagining what's next, and honing your creative skills and your imagination, like things are going to be good. And that's kind of why the Wonder Loop is one of the core elements, and that's why he's a chief imagination officer and all that stuff. So that's the story. I think I'm around 10 minutes now. So let me know what you think. Yeah, please.
Cool. Thank you.
Bulldog and Fisk.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey. So are you familiar with the Radio Nostalgia from Mars broadcast? It's based
I'm
on
not.
a video game where Earth was kind of essentially wrecked, and you know, the kind of the wealthy travel down to play golf on a wrecked Earth. And
Okay.
it's great. When I heard the Wonder Loop and this idea of kind of recurring into you know, an imagination space, place of wonder, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if the Earth was like not destroyed, but like there was a giant theme park that was destroyed, and you come in there using your digital twin, as you put it, or maybe an AI, you could think of it that way, to kind of rebuild the theme park, like rebuild the Wonderland, right?
Right.
As a
Right.
kind of trope, a device, I don't know what to call it, where the design fiction opportunities would be to use the way that you fix a roller coaster, or refurbish, you know, a carny stand, or you know, get the you know, the funnel cakes running again, could be an opportunity for a lot of design fiction artifacts, and kind of really tied to relatable, because they'd be tied to even things we would understand, like you use certain wiring, use certain kind of drills. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off on this. Is, you know, I don't want to tell you my idea. So that's it. I thought the idea of Wonderland, maybe it's just the idea of wonder, made me think of a large theme park. There actually is a Canada's Wonderland, which is where I'm from. So maybe that's what's going on.
Well, I'm
But
from
fixing
Toronto
a
as
theme
well.
park, I
Yeah.
thought was a nice device.
Familiar.
And the exciting
Cool.
part, like when they fix the roller coaster and who's going to go up for the first time, and that could be very dramatic. Anyway, thanks.
Appreciate that. I mean, Drew, sorry, Julian, do I just like pick whoever's got their hand up type of thing?
Yeah, you could do that. I don't know. We've been, sometimes I do it, sometimes the person does it. Depends on the
Okay.
person. Yeah.
Happy to. Well, Drew's got his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. The first bit that stuck out to me is the biotic hallway. I really liked that trope. Reminds me of Daniel Lewinsky's House of Leaves, or the Borges labyrinths from way back when. And I think there might be an opportunity, greater opportunity in the biotic hallway. It appears right now to be like a series of vignettes of different
Hmm.
futures or implementations of the future. You do have like a proto antagonist, the dragon, sort of guarding the treasure at the end, which I read as the room of wonder. Um,
Hmm.
I'm thinking, depending on the so it depends on what level of readership you're actually targeting. I like the moral to not be scared of the creative technological future, but depending on the level, like really young readership, then you're just sort of imparting the message. But if you're looking for something a little bit approaching somebody a little bit older, then but not quite young adult, then you might want to think of dialing up the protagonist or the antagonist, and that thinking like maybe like a minotaur or something chasing them through the biotic hallway that forces them into the different forces movement through the story. Harkening back to Italo Calvino's concept of quickness and movement, and you've got heavy themes here, but you can make them light through actual physical movement and ephemera in the actual story. And then depending on the readership, you have to dial up or dial down the amount of illustration. Obviously, if it's very young
Yeah.
readership, it's all the text is minimal and the illustrations are really big and tell the story. Whereas if you have that middle ground, then and transfer over to YA, then sort of the illustrations start to get smaller or more focused, and then there's more words there. So that might be something that you think about as, what's the target audience?
Thanks, Drew. Like I was thinking about kind of just hacking the like basically one um like kind of full page illustration per vignette. So one side is text, one side is illustration, and maybe starting off with like just my best mid-journey attempt for each of these, and then kind of like launching like kind of like a Kickstarter campaign where it's like level one is digital copy download, level two is like you get the full thing, the hard copy, and the budget would be spent on basically illustration and
Mm-hmm.
distribution, right? So that would be the
Yeah.
goal of the campaign. So that's kind of how I was thinking. But yeah, I guess either way, I was thinking, yeah, one of these vignettes is one page, and then the corresponding illustration page. But I don't really know what style. I don't really have a style fully picture in my mind. Actually, I feel like to an extent the kind of um, stock styles that get that we get inundated with through these generative models are starting to influence. They're starting to creep into my brain and be like, I'm just picturing things in those modalities, and I'm just like, hey, like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
let me stay creative.
Yeah, I often try to prompt towards like a sketch style or something as minimal
Interesting.
as I can force the model to do. It doesn't like to
Yeah,
do
that's
it.
interesting.
You really have to strong arm it into making sketches. But that would be good for the Kickstarter too, because if you're going to be recruiting designers, you don't want to give like full-fledged mid-journey, full
Yeah.
color glossiness as well, right? You just want
Hmm.
ideas, right? And it's like these
Yeah.
are the ideas that I need fleshed out by the professional illustrator, right?
Thanks, Drew.
You're
I
welcome.
think it was Scott, then Julian.
Hey, I was thinking um, of the age, trying to put myself in the position of the age group you're talking about, and thinking of the problem that you're addressing. And I'm like, and then I thought of the show Yo Gabba Gabba, which was super weird. And so then I'm like, imagination isn't imagining per se, or the quantity isn't the problem. Like getting the factory getting gummed up doesn't seem to be as much of a problem. Or could be. You could address that. but I'm like, could you also address like you can be weird. Like you totally have permission to think of super crazy, because a lot of your examples are like unexpected things that are real.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if you could more double down on that to say, if you think your ideas are crazy, you're not alone. A lot of these crazy things are out there. Like that part of imagination, like just don't
Kind of
self-edit
like
or something like that. It's not about quantity as much as um,
like
I don't know, edge of
genuine exploratory thinking.
something, yeah, like push to that edge of, I don't know what that word would be, possible or just
Yeah.
something like that, empowering to your own voice even.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be that like there's the error, the issue is like too many similar ideas or too many ideas that are like, not are safe ideas, let's say. And then people aren't
Yeah.
feeling comfortable enough being creative enough. And the issue is maybe, I don't know, that there's somehow they're
And
feeling some pressure to be the same. Yeah.
that ties in well to a current criticism or a critical prediction of AI that the language models will just be consuming more and more of the same thing, and there will be more and more sameness.
Yeah,
So
that is my
that
theory.
might be a
Definitely.
nice way to take it.
That's cool. I appreciate that, Scott.
Yeah.
Julian?
Yeah, this is really cool. And thank you for reminding me of the ABC Solar Punk project, which still, it'll get done, still needs to be done. Um, but I started as you were describing the different vignettes, I think so my visual imagination kind of kicked in and I wanted to see as well. So that's just like
Mhm.
I don't know, that was just kind of a like a reflection without any particular anything specific, other than I guess now starting to wonder like what would happen just as a kind of creative continuation of what you've done. Um, just trying to do that without over indexing on like, okay, now I'm actually doing production work, but just
Right.
what is the tone and tenor and what's the aesthetic, the visual vibe of what you're describing. I went like immediately, and I'm not. This is absolutely maybe to your point, and it's neither wrong nor right, but it feels like uh
Pick
I don't
something up
know.
on that,
Maybe
huh?
I started seeing like manga. I don't know why. I think maybe because I watched there was a silly show on last night that I was watching, and also I met with a friend who works at an agency within a larger agency that does lots of illustration, and they have manga clients. And so
Cool.
that's been on my mind. And then he also sent me some like industry analysis. It's like, I guess not unexpectedly, but I didn't know about it directly. I guess I did kind of from my nephews. They came visit and it's like, we got to go to Japantown. We got to go to that one bookstore that's got all the manga. It's like, which books? What are you talking about? No idea this world that you live in. But like it's huge. And so I don't know if that, if you're just thinking in terms of like you want to, this wants to be out there in the world, which it sounds like it does because you kind of went you mentioned Kickstarter, so it's like you're already at the end, in a way. Not the end, but you're like already thinking about it in these kind of
Hmm.
commercial vaguely commercial terms, not like, oh, I just want to do this project for myself, which is totally fine. I'm all over the place. But the
Yeah, no,
idea,
I
sorry,
hear
go
you.
ahead. Yeah. He's just wondering, and also I guess maybe also reflecting on Scott's note in terms of same. There is it's like curious to wonder, it's like, well, what other visual kind of tone and tenor could it be besides manga, Studio Ghibli, and whatever you are imagining. What else can there be? So that's really interesting from a creative perspective, but it's also a challenge from a commercial perspective because if you show there's possibly you show something people are like, oh my God, I've never seen this before, I must have it. But also probably people say it's like, I don't get what this is. I was expecting manga. Or I was expecting um the yogurt, the solar punk commercial vibe, which was, you know, resonant. It was legible. People were like, this is what I expect solar punk to be. Just as when you show them cyberpunk, dark, rainy, and noodles, people are like, oh, I get this world. I get where this is from.
I can sort of share a so Darius Darius and Navi. Navi is Ivan backwards. Darius and Ivan are my two boys. So that's what it's kind of based off of. And I've used Darius as kind of an avatar in the past for some of those aforementioned presentations. And I basically took this image and cut it out and put it on like other backgrounds. So that's kind of, I know this is kind of pretty generic in terms of what you'd expect an LLM to spit out in terms of an image, but this kind of what the guy looks like. And like I'm actually digging the fit, like the shorts and the lab coat with the glasses. Like I'm like those are potential requirements here. And like it looks a lot like what Darius looks like right now, as cartoon form. So that answers maybe some questions as to what I'm picturing, something like that. Appreciate all the inputs, and yeah, Julian, I do want to kind of make it a thing because I just like I'm trying to take the fun. It's like I've been doing this public speaking stuff as like my big real side hustle, and I'm doing that, and I got this template basically that I'm applying because everyone wants to know how AI is going to impact their industry. So I tell them that, and then I talk about then I take a role and I do the future of that role in that in 2040 or 2050 or whatever they want, and then I use Darius as avatar, right? And because you need an avatar to like who's the persona going to be, and it's always a light moment, and that's always the funnest, like in the preparation is making that story, and then I thought to myself, what if that's all I did? I just cut out the fun and I just honed in on that. And then I'm like, okay, well, in order to make that real, there needs to be a commercial element to make it a sustainable thing.
I think maybe your kids can look the way you showed. I think one thing you could do to make it seem like curious, let's say, or thought-provoking is the context they're in. I'm reading this book about cartography, and there was a map that Australians drew, in Australia, like the map's just upside down essentially.
Okay.
And just stuff like that we're just not used to seeing. It's just those because I think how you've arrived here is great. So you have like a ton of insight. And I think it's just how do you provide some simple handle to be like, now the world, this job is like this because the context in which the person, these things are this way. I think is key. So a lot of what you're doing in the speaking thing, the insights from that, I think are, it's just finding visual ways to depict them that people recognize, but then they also recognize the delta between now and that one, or how different that one is versus it takes a lot of energy to understand what it is. I mean, it could be fun, and then it's just like, oh, this is whatever. I mean, there's lots of ways I think you can do that.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I think it's going to be an interesting question, like what level of fidelity should the illustrations be? Like how detailed are we talking, like as much like visual communication as possible, like maximalist like scenario for each vignette, like just everything, like
Yeah, but
Um,
Julian just, what did you say, Julian? Raining, dark, and noodles. It's like Blade Runner, I assume. And it's because we know Blade Runner that I know those three words are that. So that I think, what are those things for you? For each insight, what are those key, I don't know what the right word is, the like Dre and others can hooks or connections to today that are now not that. Just a few of those
hmm,
have to be different now. I think the
got it.
style is utterly up, like yours, like subjective, like what you want it to be because it's your creative voice. Yeah, it's that's the what you're saying is the analytical, how you're saying it is subjective,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Scott.
I mean, I'm kind of stuck right now nerding out on the production workflow. Like I'm just imagining how you would yeah, I've been playing with Comfy and all it's like this new model like every day. It's kind of excruciating. But the how you could the illustration stuff is super for some reason it's
Yeah.
like more interesting to me than the video stuff. Maybe partly because the video stuff is so there is no real the workflow is too slow for me. It's like if I got to wait
Yeah.
20 minutes for 3 seconds, it's just like it's not going to happen. Um, but doing illustrations, I don't know, or stills basically is what I'm saying, not necessarily um, an illustrated style seems super interesting. And then I shared in the Discord, it's still kind of rattling around my head when I went to this kind of event and this one guy, Paul Trillo, was showing some work that he did that was it was gorgeous at a bunch of different levels. And part of the reason why it was gorgeous was that, it's like a team effort with actual artists working on it.
Hmm.
Artists side, so you had a good conversation about the role of the artist in the AI world. And it's like, oh, look, they have a role and they actually did something and they did something expansive and beautiful. And the
Mm.
artists were just kind of like, actually this is the bullshit that I don't want to do. I don't want to do all the tweens. I want to
Mhm.
do
Hmm.
the keyframes. And so then you're kind
Right.
of like, okay, well, that sort of makes sense. You're taking the burden off of it. But the other interesting part of the workflow is that they built a model based on one of the artists, the main artist, the main visual kind of like genius of a particular style, which was this kind of, it did look, it was like an R. Crumb kind of generation beyond R. Crumb, where some artist is like, I love this guy's style. I love the ink work. I love the dot patterns and that kind of stuff. Let me make this mine. And they did. So, that's kind of an artist modeling themselves on another artist that they admire, which is cool and genuine. Um, and then they found the way to integrate that into an AI workflow so that they could actually make a rather long animation. He also noted it's like,
Hmm.
if we wanted to do a 3-minute animation like this, you're talking about like a couple year project. Just kind of whoa. But we could do this in I can't remember what it was, but it was orders of magnitude quicker. And they weren't trying to do it quicker just to be quicker. They were like it was an experiment, more than anything else. And it's gorgeous, I think.
Julian, you made me think of Katie Salen worked on Scanner Darkly, right?
She did, I
Do you
didn't know
remember?
that. Amazing.
She was one of the teams, but if I remember right, that's a Linklater movie, isn't it? Scanner Darkly. But my memory is there were a series of teams that worked on it, so it's various different styles of the time. I think Katie's was rotoscoped. And it makes me think kind of what Julian's getting into is like it makes the project a little different for you. Well, I don't know what your skill set is, but if if part of the story if part of the story is how the representation or the style constantly is changing, because it can.
Yeah. Yeah. So I, I I'd love to work with an illustrator. I'm not an illustrator. And I don't I don't presume that me plus Midjourney is equals good enough for what I want to put out for this. And so that's kind of the idea the main expense that I'd want to cover with a campaign, like a Kickstarter campaign. I did have a thought about like whether I'd put a tier in, like where, touching on some of what you guys are talking about, like if let's say the book comes with its own like visual, style, language, and people were like, yeah, I like that, except I would want this for like my kid. And then kind of use that as a model, and that could be like the top tier is like you can pay for whoever the CIO, right? And it's like your kid the CIO, Drew's kid the CIO, Julian's kid the CIO, you know what I mean? And then that's like then at that point you have a kind of a model based off of the visuals that you have, and then you just like redo it for this like literally kids photo. Not that I would want to be. And then I actually thought, because I am from the IT world, to fully answer the question, Scott, like that's my background is IT and foresight. I'm just like, well, what I would do then is just provide the model as a template so that they can run it themselves, so that I'm never getting sent anyone's kids' photos, right? And so that's as far as I thought about that. You guys rock, man. I appreciate you giving me these pointers and these ideas. It's really cool.
It's good stuff. Like definitely keep us in the loop and feel free to raise your hand again to present current status. The other
Oh,
thing that I
thanks.
would mention just in the Kickstarter front, yes, cool, consider that. I'd also maybe just look at meta label and see if there's an interesting opportunity there, which is trying to be kind of Kickstarter 2.0 or something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay. Drew,
You asked for it.
I did.
Julian I was just trying to pay the parking meter. Julian grabbed me, said, "You're presenting." Here we go. All right. Make sure I get the right screen with the Zoom's craziness. All right. Yes. Okay. Cool. I think I got it there. Is everybody seeing a presentation? All right. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to start a timer because everybody here knows that I can just talk and talk and talk. All right, timer started. Okay, so I'm going to present on a passion project that I've been working on. As a true generalist, I sort of change my flavors every once in a while, and this summer's flavor seems to be TTRPGs, which are tabletop role-playing games. So I've been collecting quite a few of the books, probably just an excuse to collect books for me, but it generates in my imagination like what would a design fiction RPG look like, and so that's what this is. And I'm very early days in this, but I'll show you the structure and sort of the workflow that I have got going here. All right, so it starts with analog. So I'm very much into the hybrid AI analog process and sort of cementing those workflows. I've got physical sketching, ideation, and creative process, in journals, just, having a real hands-on approach. There's a way of ideating with your hands that's different than ideating with a computer or an AI assistant, and different things come to fro, or really just staring out the window, just sort of ideating just in your head is different than if you have an AI partner. But through there comes this raw creativity without constraints. It's people say digital is totally free, but really it's got more restraints than just a pen on paper. And I've got a couple of illustrations here of just some of the journaling stuff that I've done. So I'm going through all the RPG rule books and sort of emulating how they lay them out, because there is a pattern in between them. They all sort of follow similar format. So like this might be the front page, and then I'm going with more. I really like the scribble sketches. So I'm probably going to sketch out most of the illustrations myself, and then probably give them to a Midjourney or another program to sort of refine, but use that as the, like Julian said, like the keyframes, right? And then just working through the story. I'm more poetic when I write in the journal than I am iterating back and forth with the AI assistant. That said, it can enhance a lot of the work, right? So it can, I feed it the concepts through prompts, and then we have a collaborative process back and forth. It comes up with ideas. I tell it its ideas are shite, and we move on to a different idea. And then sometimes it comes up with really unique ones, and then we build on that, and then we create something together. So that's the main process that we have here. Again, physical sketches, which I've shown, creature notes and design, artifacts. I am going to be using, I have these workflows here that I have scheduled tasks where I have it coming up, where I have ChatGPT coming up with different artifacts based on different criteria that I have on a schedule. So every day it feeds me things, like a stability grounding voucher or something like that. These are going to be artifacts that are in the game, and I've got like 3 of these run, and just started a new one for beasties. And then the post-future world building, drawing a lot from this group, from the Discord, and sort of the, I'm calling them N-punk types, solar punk, NASA punk, etc., that I'm going to base this generative world on. The one of the best things that came out of the AI human collaboration was a unique mechanic. I'm going to get kind of RPG nerd here for a second. Most RPGs, you use the polyhedral dice and you have a bunch of stats, and they can get really complex and statistical and highly mathematical, which is great. That's how I learned math growing up. I was not engaged in school, but I was engaged in Dungeons and Dragons. So I was learning like advanced probability and all these advanced mathematical concepts, and constantly doing mental math outside of school. So the math is great, right? But I find that newer RPGs are just really hyper complicated. And there's actually a movement called OSR, which is old school RPGs, which is like going back to like the simpler times. And that's kind of what I'm trying to come up with here. And so between myself and my assistant, I came up with this triple in key system where we have 3 stats, the first and primary one being imagination, and then knowledge, and then cunning, and then they all just cascade up into signal. And the signal, the goal of the game is to get your signal to be 100% in this world. And you start with by rolling in a certain order: imagination, knowledge, and cunning, using a 12-sided, an 8-sided, and a 10-sided die, and that combination. I won't go too much into the math, but there's multipliers involved, and it all adds up to a max total of 100, right? And then it uses what's called a roll under scheme. So every encounter or combat or negotiation or investigation, you roll 2 10-sided die, and if you roll under your signal or the combatant signal, then you achieve success. So a very quick system or mechanic within the game, and that came up through AI had something like that, and then I pulled on a few threads, and I'm like, no, this is better, and then we came up with that together, this triple in key system with imagination being the core. Artifacts drive imagination. So like the artifacts that I'm pulling from here will be found in the game. The only way to increase statistics are if you find artifacts, and find 3 artifacts of one specific N type. When you find those, then you can then you have the chance to find an actual prototype. And finding prototypes is the only way that you can raise your knowledge statistic. When you find a prototype of a certain NPunk type, then you can grok it, which is just another roll. And if you grok it, then your knowledge stat goes up. And because of the cascading statistics, once you reach like the 12 and the 8 and the 10, then you have that full 100 for signal, and then you've ostensibly won the game. But trying to layer in everything that I'm learning here in near future laboratory, and all of the concepts that Julian has pioneered, and Dre and the rest of the cohort, and trying to layer that into this design fiction RPG. So we have the ephemeral artifacts. You have to collect some of those broaden your imagination to the point to where you can find a prototype, you can grok the prototype, and then continue on in the game. And then for cunning, you can actually craft your own prototypes, because you also find parts, etc. So that's like the general mechanics for the game here. The output is going to be physical zine. There's the scene for RPG zines is actually just gigantic. You wouldn't believe it. Like that's where like everybody is starting, is putting out these little rule books in zines, and then they get popular on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and then they move up to like hardcover rule books. So that there's going to be a physical portion of this, but I'm also developing an iOS app to go along with it, and I'm doing that in Replit. And here's a little. This is just got like the movement and like the hex. So it puts up the hexes, and then it randomly moves you a dice roll, and then you roll for more hexes, and then the blue one there, that's a city. And so that's a new mechanic where artifacts are super dense, and that you immediately start going towards the city in the game. And then once you're in the city, that's going to be different mechanics. But I want this to go along with it. And actually, it's been really useful, because playing with this, I'm establishing new rules and mechanics for the analog bit. And I will wrap it up saying, once the artifacts go digital, this final result will be an analog and AI hybrid, both in the physical and digital world, to reflect its creation process. And I have 27 seconds left, so I will stop. There you go. Not bad for just coming in off the street.
Awesome, dude.
But yeah, happy to get this group here is a huge influence on obviously everything that's been done. So any kind of feedback in any sphere is widely appreciated.
I was wondering if you could bring the deck back, Drew, and I want to see that isometric board you had running.
Sure. Yeah. I think I can do that. Give it a shot. This one here.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Right.
Yeah, Replit did it. I mean, it was a bunch of iteration. I had an idea of what I wanted, but Replit put that together. I gave it the colors, and then started iterating through the mechanics. So it procedurally generates this world, procedurally generates, it's a 1 in 10 chance that a city will be generated. And then the random movement, that's actually a constraint, because I couldn't get it to move through the hexes deterministically. I did have a little compass here that would make you run through it, but I just couldn't get Replit to do it in a way that made me happy. So using the constraint of the platform. Go ahead.
You should probably just ask it to write you a pathfinding algorithm and just use kind of old school techniques. But what I wanted to say was this is not intended, as far as I understand it. I'm looking at this with the sidebar. Like, I'm seeing this map, and I'm seeing the code on the left, right? Or I'm seeing something like code on the left. And the idea that jumped out at me, and I don't know if this fits, because I know you want this to be analog, and as well, and so on.
Mhm.
But I'd like to be able to change the mechanics in a controlled way, maybe in a kind of gamified way, whatever that means. But that might be an interesting thing to, for me, that would be interesting if I could, you know, how you often will have live programming, right? Where people code visuals, right, at clubs and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
that sort of notion, but less silly because this is a real game and so on. There's going to be constraints, but within those constraints, if I could, you know, play around with the settings, as it were, that would be kind of interesting. But that's it.
I like
I just
sliders.
wanted
Yeah.
to say it's beautiful. So good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice work, Drew. Looks
Thanks,
good.
Dre.
I being a tabletop board game nerd with a bunch of friends, we talk a lot about different games. One friend of mine makes games, a lot of games, so I love listening to him, having those conversations with him about gaming mechanics and different things that you can do. And I've it's funny, I've done a bunch of false starts on design fiction games, not false starts, like starts that never went all the way. And when I look at this, it's like there's a few things I'm really loving about this. Like I like the hex tile idea, and I like that it is building over time. Because I always look at exploring worlds with design fiction, like being in a dark room with a flashlight, and the more you shine it around, the more you discover what's going on. And that's where I see the tiles. Like you just kind of have to work your way out, almost civilization like, right? Um, and then I liked your scribbles. It felt a bit more Morkborg ish.
Yep. Yeah.
And so Morkborg is one of my
Right there.
yeah, you're great. You got it right
Sorry,
there.
Right at the ready.
what is that? I'm not sure what that
Show
is.
Morkborg.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. I'm not sure if it's showing up on the camera all right.
It's a death metal inspired
Yeah.
RPG.
It's just gorgeous. Yeah.
It's
just
gorgeous. It's beautiful. And
beautiful stuff.
yeah, it's got great illustrations. Yeah, your blurring algorithm
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about
is
that.
is copyright protecting those beautiful illustrations. But yeah, Morkborg is great because the whole game just lives in a book. There's nothing more than just a book of instructions. And there's another one called Fiasco that I really like, and I wanted to
Oh,
adapt.
okay. I haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
Fiasco's awesome. I wanted to adapt a design fiction story to work with it. But one of the design fiction games that I was playing around with is called Janky. And the idea is that you have a janky time machine. That's where you fill with items. And one of the mechanics is that there is I believe I love games. I think games need to have win and lose states. Like you need to fail in a game, otherwise the game is not that much fun. That's why I like more of the co-opetition. If there's a way that you can cooperate with people, but you can also fail. So similar to like Nemesis. I don't know if you know that one, but that's really really great because you work together. But like people win, people lose. That's the really fun part. That's the operative word of the game, in my opinion. Yeah, I would love to stay. I'd love to help you play test it, jam on some
Oh, sure.
ideas,
Great.
and do whatever, and even share some other ideas. But ultimately, what you're doing, I mean, you could just keep going. What you're doing is going to be probably going to turn out really awesome. But I'd love to get involved in it because I can't get enough of games to play.
Very cool. Very cool. I'll keep you in the loop then for sure. It's great to have somebody to bounce stuff off of, and definitely great to have play testers because you can only do so much with the Python algorithms, right? You got to actually have humans play it.
Hey, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I never thought that my background in gaming was going to come up, but I feel like every week I'm like, oh, I was anyway. So I did work in gaming briefly, and I just want to say, like, I've only played a couple tabletop games, D&D, mostly board games, but have a lot of fun. But yeah, I think like I've seen a lot of inspiration in this area come about, especially with Gen AI. I think a lot of people saw Gen AI like, oh, I could use that to help build this world and the story and everything. It's been really cool to see a lot of different people kind of like get inspired in different ways about it. And I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring of like, if you need another playtester, gamer person, happy to help out.
Great.
And then I just wanted to share an old colleague of mine, Carl Quo. He was at Riot. Is at he's up in Vancouver now. But he has this YouTube series, Playing with Inference, and it's him and a bunch of other game developers talking about using AI to develop games. It's a lot of like game design, but it's also
Nice.
like
Okay.
strategy, also like just processes kind of stuff. Not everything's going to apply to like exactly what you're doing, but if you want to just like listen to like game
Oh,
designers
that's
talking
great.
about how they use AI in their own workflows and everything, there's a bunch of content there. And actually, one of the contracts that I did recently was for a few like second and third time founders for a game company. They really wanted to build this like company around the idea of like using Gen AI to create like a game that was infinitely replayable and told the story with the players. And I think it's a really interesting space. Just on a slight tangent, where my head when I look at this kind of stuff is like, you have all these people crafting these really really cool worlds and really interesting like deep lore, and then you have really unique combat systems, right? Like you created your score, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, how do you get players to have fun in an authentic way that aligns with both the rules that you've set in place and the lore that is unique to your experience? And that combining those two is, I think, a really interesting space to be playing in. So yeah, I'm definitely love to just keep, love to know any updates you have, because I think it's fascinating.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, I'll take you up on that for sure. That's great. Yeah, and thanks I'm always looking for new YouTubers. I've been watching this fella Questing Beast. All he does is it's just his hands and he's going through the books, and I'll just sit there and watch it for hours. It's so nerdy.
Nice.
But I think Julian had a micro video cast like that where he's just going through books. But yeah, it's a nice format. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Drew, I just wanted to say I have to download the new version of Zoom to get those emojis. But love these zine things. It's so funny because last week at the gym in LA, I ran into a friend of mine who's so LA, like an influencer and a model, and like they're now doing exclusive zine photo shoots, or they've been doing a lot of zine photo shoots. So they just did this like jockstrap something or other photo shoot that's coming out, and I was like, what's it going to be? And they're like, a zine. And I was like, of course. Like it's so, and like it was so niche. It was like a Berlin zine, and I was like, this is so nuanced. But it was and I find myself, that's like, I feel like so up and coming with people that I know in LA. Like I'll go into someone's apartment and there'll be like 5 zines on their coffee table. It's almost performative, but I also find it to be what I want to flip through. And then I find it could be interesting to see if the physical zines are like add-ons to a board game, right? Like if the board game has a continuation and you want to, like when you add on next levels of a game digitally or physically, if the zine is the missing, like the next edition becomes the next zine that has to be launched, it will keep you wanting to go back. I'll want the next zine, or it kind of adds to that mystique or that hype of the drop kind of thing.
Oh,
So,
sure. Yeah. Yeah. They're easy.
know.
Yeah. They're fun and easy to put together. And yeah, they can be super niche. And I think that's really some of the power of the zine.
Yeah.
And it's always very personal to the people that are putting it together.
And there's always that history of, and I said that, like, I referenced what that person was being photographed for, because they're always a little bit renegade, avant-garde. They're not like, it's not, a blue jeans ad for Levi's necessarily. And if they are, then zines are dead, right? So it's like that element of I like the cycle of it referencing the digital, going back to the physical, it being an add-on to the board game, and then that going back to the digital game, and then it being renegade to begin with. Like there's a beautiful like sort of ebb and flow to it all.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
And sort of scavenger hunt to it all that I think is the best
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, that's one of the main mechanics, is the finding of the artifacts and
Yep.
trying to scavenge up the right end punk types, so you have to have 3 solar punk artifacts to be able
Yep.
to have the opportunity to find a solar punk prototype, and and that raises the stats up to that winning state that we mentioned, that Dre mentioned. And I like the collaborative aspect that Dre mentioned. Like, maybe you pick a winner, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you play it as a group. Like, I'm designing it so it can be played solo, but then a group play could be, you pick the person that you're trying to help along, and like at least one person in the group will get 100 signal. So very cool.
And that's when it becomes fun. Like, zines were meant to bring community together, right? And I feel like that's where, tech can be community driven and at its best in many forms. So that's really more empowering than just sort of, anything else. Very cool.
Appreciate it.
I know Mateus is next, and I got a question, but I just got to say, Kim, you're making me think. It's like he's getting ready to like just stick up a 7-Eleven. You know what I mean? I just got to do the Zoom call before I pull this heist.
Dude, I'm really loving like the first time I come back, I'm just like in a car in random parking lots, and then I have to hop off and get into another call, and then I might pop back in another parking lot.
I'm gonna bust this joint out. Be back in a minute.
Very cool.
Go ahead, Mateus. Sorry.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's robbing a convenience store. It looks like the guy who's been training in front of YouTube for 2 months to protect one against the robbery more. Anyway, I was thinking, I was just going to second what others have said, like play test as much as possible and as early as possible. I have a friend who does like tabletop designs games, and he's invited us to game, and it's always fun to see his disappointed but enlightened face when like someone like me just min-maxes the game, someone else just goes for the lore, someone else is confused.
Sure.
And it's like seems to be very rewarding because he hasn't stopped making them and they keep getting better. So I'd go for that. And then but if you want to go for like the more artifact or geeking out and finding the stuff, I mean, I'm looking. I have a separate window opening up my bundle I bought on itch.io, which is like 200 PDF RPGs, right? So how do you diversify from that or stand out? And I think the collecting thing and getting the lore right might be a thing. Like, I think meta labels, that the whole idea of drops and all that, but then that becomes part of the mechanic, right? So part of the mechanic is wanting to be part of the lore or the group or the alternative reality game crew or whatever. So yeah,
I like that. I like the zine drops as part of the mechanic. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I'd look at maybe something like the Octalysis framework, if you're familiar.
No, what is that?
It's one guy who's let's see, I have it. It's basically a way to analyze for gamification. What are the drives that people use for wanting to play games? But you can use it for whatever.
Cool.
And you could plug in, like, you have your game mechanics and the stuff that you've done as part of the, like, okay, so it's a quest for mastery, or it's a scarcity thing or whatever. But if you start to include like the social aspect of collectibles or drops or whatever, then that could also be plugged in here to check it out. He's a bit full of himself, the author, but his book is good. I know on LinkedIn he says he's influenced 1.5 billion people, which, but the book is good, and I think the model is interesting, so that could be something.
Very cool. Appreciate that. Thank you for the resource.
I'm digging between what you're sharing and stuff that we talked about all of us have talked about in the Discord for a couple of years now. The using gaming as a platform for doing the important work of helping people invigorate their imagination or whatever it might be. So I'm getting good vibes just in terms of how the possibilities. Like I'm feeling like there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of ways to explore this, and trying to imagine the other ways of doing that kind of work. The whole, it's time to imagine harder work in kind of like second order approaches as opposed to writing a didactic book about it or something like
Mhm.
that, or that kind of thing, which I think is also good. But then how do you do that work for that make the ideas and principles behind it legible, not just to people who want to go read a book, but people who are like, you know what, is there another way into this? Workshops that are really tangible and hands-on, and card decks. So we've done card decks, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's a comment or a remark that I just want to say out loud, just because it starts to get interesting and exciting. And I just as you were talking, I popped on Steam. I'm like, okay, what's going on with Steam? Like, what is
Mhm.
that as an interesting platform for the distribution effects, let's say.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, thanks.
Imagine harder as an RPG kind of just rule book.
Yeah, yeah, as the format, right? And like that questing beast guy, he brought up a couple that were they were art books, but they were designed as rule books, right? So they're like RPGs that don't exist. Like it has like all the stuff except for the actual mechanics on how to play the game in it, right? So people have been playing with this as a form of as a genre, and not necessarily like making games out of it, which is pretty cool.
So I have to. Well, I really wanted to jump in. I know we're getting to time, but Mateus accidentally hit one of the little like chips on my shoulder or whatever by posting this, and it's like anyway, it's funny because I've seen this happen before, but it's like gamification and designing for gamification is very different than designing a fun gaming experience. And when I clicked on the link and I was like looking through, it's like, oh no, like this is like if you're developing a game, bringing in these gamification motivations is actually counterproductive a lot of the times. And so I was like, oh no, what do we do? So I like went and I found like the Quantic Foundry has a really good motivation model. A lot of people have built and expanded on it. I have some friends that were on the Netflix gaming team, and they were using this to drive portfolio strategy there. Where it's like this is like so it's like why is this person like what fun like what type of fun is this person wanting to get out of this experience? Quantum Foundry has it's like a really good baseline for like the different types of people. Obviously, it gets very, you can get really nuanced, but highly suggest checking that out. And maybe, read through the gamification stuff, but in my experience, it's a lot more like, oh, I've got this SaaS product or I've got this other thing, and I want to introduce these moments of like extrinsic motivation using gamified language. It's like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a nice model on how to think that, but it's less like people play games for intrinsic like reasons, not extrinsic reasons usually. And so anyway, I just wanted to throw that.
No, yeah, I totally get that. And yeah, my main core motivation is from a gamer's perspective and having something that's super simple that I can keep in my aging brain and not have to refer to rule books as I'm playing it, right? And so that's why I'm trying to keep everything just one mechanic. You just roll 2d10s for your, for everything, for all the rolls and a clear, winning streak. There is a huge variety though in gamers. Like some really deeply love that deep gamification and rule books that are 500 pages of just text, of just stats and stuff like that. They're yeah, exactly. Right. So there is like this huge contingent, and there's games that that speak to all of those. And I'm trying to create something, including the app, right? The app, all the movements are right there by the thumb, because I hate turning my phone to landscape to play a game. I like keeping it in portrait and just using my thumb to play games. So it's all very personal thing.
Well, I'm the type of person that has the like red magic like Cadillac of gaming phones, and I'm like, oh, I'll play something on this. Yeah. Anyway,
very cool.
Drew, when I think of like the gaming mechanics and just the theme in general, like I find that I personally resonate more with metaphors that align with like reality, or not with ideas that I can mental models that make sense. So the idea that like you know, you need to pick up a thing and do the thing. Like there's this one game that I play where there's a mechanic where you can catapult somebody over the front lines, and the damage is very, it's like, oh, of course you catapult to the, like, this is why the damage is so much, is that you're throwing them over, but you lose that character when you do that, because if you're going to catapult somebody, they're going to die. So you're taking that risk. And I like that the mental model makes perfect sense. And it's the games that have things like, you know, you need 3 diamonds of Epheron in order to cast the spell of Sages. And it's like, it's all invented stuff that makes sense in the person's mind because they've got this idea. But when there isn't a solid mental model that you can tack onto, I find it's a lot more difficult to sink your teeth into. And then one more thing is, the games that stand out to me have like a cinematic quality, in the sense that you can replay the game. So Fiasco, Nemesis, every time we play Nemesis, we can recount. It's like, remember when you tried to like pull the hyperspeed button and you like, but you didn't get back to the pod in time and you like exploded all over and we found your like exploded body. Like, we're talking about a game that we played as if we watched a movie, and there's something beautiful about that. And that's a magic quality in RPGs and tabletop games that only a few possess. And I feel like this has the potential of having that.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I remember doing that as a kid, you know.
Oh, and just one more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, just one more thing. Less reliance on dice for just game, like games of chance are just boring. Like, skill is important, like having a strategic idea, but just rolling dice to make decisions to me feels it's just a game of chance. You may as well just skip the game part and play rock, paper, scissors, right?
Okay.
I watch a lot of Rust, and there's just massive skill tree in Rust. You have to like earn scrap, and then you can build things according to the tech tree. And what I just heard Dre say, and what made me stimulate, is what if your tech tree was the thing you were making, and that was the archival history of the game. So any game you wanted to play, you would pull out the old tech tree, and you could go down that same memory lane. But you're actually sort of engineering what you can build later in the tech tree, because you need the earlier branches to build the later branches. So that sort of maps into the like prototyping design world really well. If you were architecting, if the game was architecting the tech tree, then you'd have a memory of the things you'd made and what their properties were and how you could combine them to innovate again. And that's a real nice collapsing of the problem space. We used to play a game called the Imaginary Reverse Violence game. We didn't like doing violence to each other, you know, because if you chop somebody's head off, they'd die. But if you unchop their head off, of course, they'd be much better than when you found them. So we would imagine crazy violence and do it in backwards time to each other. And there was this really, really intricate rule set that just evolved. Every game, if somebody did something you didn't like, you could make up a rule that wouldn't let them do that, and they could make up a rule that let them do that, and then you'd have to use those rules. It was a crazy game. Imaginary Reverse Violence.
First time I played Sorry with my daughter, we played like 2 turns, and sorry, right? Like you can drive your opponent backwards. And
Right.
she started crying. She didn't want to do it. Like she wouldn't do it. And I was like, it's just a game. It's like, no, I don't want to. You're gonna go bad. No, she couldn't do bad things, which I thought was lovely, of course. And
Ever forwards.
a waste of $15, but all right, that's okay for that kind of life lesson. It's worth it.
Yeah. There's a series of games you reminded me of too called Pocket Games back in the fucking 70s. And Pocket Games was little tiny plastic envelopes that would just hang on the point of sale thing. And they had like 20 games in the D&D store that were all in these little tiny 8.5 by 11 folded sheet, kind of just a piece of paper you'd open with the hex map. And then you design your own ships. And the only place the dice rolls came in was for how far your ships could go. And then you're building your spec of like how much engines, how much laser, how much shields. And then you'd fly these ships around on to explore the system. Dude, Pocket Games had it going on. They were so small and so easy to play. Such a small set of rules, but the proper use of dice mechanics for like how far could I go, how difficult this space is. But all the decisions were in configuring your ship designs. And I have never forgotten that game. I played it for a couple months, but man, just a beautiful form factor. Pocket Games. I don't know if you could even find them, but the game was called Warp War. My D&D game dropped. It stopped playing, so I've got an opening. We used to play every Tuesdays, I think, for like from 4 till 8 on East Coast time, and it was really fun. I think this group could handle a gaming session weekly.
The pocket game thing makes me think of paper apps. I don't know if you've seen those. I just popped a link in the chat, but that'd be a fun, like, super diminutive version of what you're doing, Drew. Like, it's just pre-printed in a notebook, and the mechanic, or the thing that I really like about paper apps, because it's all these little notebook things, they actually print the dice number on the sides of the pencil.
Oh, I've seen that.
And
Yeah.
you just roll a pencil, and it's just really smart.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I've seen another system where you do something and you color in boxes, and that eliminates dice. Like they just print a roll of dice rolls, and you just scratch off the dice rolls. They're not quote random, but there's a whole string of random numbers on the page, and you just check them off, and that actually works.
Very cool. Thanks, Phil, for everything. Appreciate all your input.
When I flipped it on today, you were talking about the 3 keys. My whole system of mathematics I've been working on is based on networks, triads, little triplets. I call them harmonic triplets. And these little triplets form the codex of this huge spine of information I'm writing. But it was good synchronicity to turn it on this morning and see 3 keys.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, good work on the I need to make a deck like that. What's the best tools for making decks, guys? What do you guys use?
I threw all my notes into Perplexity because Julian just grabbed me off the street to do this, and so I just threw them into Perplexity Labs and gave it a prompt and said, give me 10 slides so I don't go over, and it did fair job. I did like 2 iterations of it to try to get it. It won't put in your own like images and stuff, but it'll choose images, but it did pretty good job.
I had a really amazing what would you call it, a one-shot website build last couple weeks ago that blew my mind in terms of just getting more details into your specification. And then how much did you give it to get that? Did you do
Complexity
build there and then just ask for a deck, or how did you
I had tons of notes, and I just fed it into. I just fed all the notes into Perplexity and told it what to do with the notes.
I
So
see.
I
So
didn't
you
have a
just
lot of
gave it
stuff.
that
Yeah,
fits my strat, which is basically a big hyper-aligned corpus and then
Mhm.
a left turn off that, basically.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good job.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
What's missing from your game?
Physical artifacts so far, but that's I'm not sure. I haven't thought of that. I'm at the stage where I'm working on like the bestiary and the encounters and things like that. So, which is going to be a lot of ideation on paper. So that's what's not here yet.
I wonder if there's a combinatorial game where you could lay cards down on a table, take a picture, and then have the AI generate the artifact from the cards. Like if you could
Maybe.
loop AI into a stage of the game or something.
Well, it's another great idea for sure.
Combinatorial. In the D&D game I was playing weekly, the best part of it was putting the AI next to it and getting all my friends' characters designed and being able to like drop 2 or 3 images per couple hour game, but being able to craft them on the side and add visuals to something that just classically is in your imagination. And I think that's the difference in these in text-based games from before. Like that's the new thing, I think, that isn't leveraging, and it's so adjacent to Hollywood's problem. It's really weird. I was making interactive adventure text games like almost immediately when AI showed up, and I was like, this is going to kill Hollywood. You can just basically go, and as soon as it's making video of those situations, you're just in your own movie now.
Well, Zork didn't kill Hollywood, so I think
Yeah,
they'll probably evolve. Very cool. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Julian, for letting me present, even though I was giving you a hard time. It was nice to get the feedback early. So
I appreciate you doing that and getting me thinking about different ways in which gaming might be a fun aspect of it. My head's been really into ways of um not just talking to adults because that gets kind of boring after a while, but like what are things you can do for the younger generation? I feel, just kind of being avuncular, like how do the things that we're talking about translate or become legible in that, to that the people who are entering into this weird crazy world.
gaming is education, right?
Totally. That's but at a bunch of different levels. Yeah, just play, ludology, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I'm thinking like
Cool.
how does that manifest in kids? I've been thinking about how do you do future design stuff with kids, so up to 10 years old, right? So if you could, we know what we mean when we say, well, someone with bad intentions or someone with too much power or whatever. But how do kids frame it? Is it someone who has too much clout on TikTok, who does particular thing? How does that manifest, right? So we get the language right. I mean, the power dynamics are probably quite similar as when we were kids, but we just lose so much by not having the language. You're muted, Phil.
The problem of play where you're engaging your natural language, your natural intuition. Oh, here's a ball. I know how to throw a ball. Let's make a game and throw it to each other or whatever. Versus the huge rule set, which is, designed to somehow create a natural physics in space, but is an edifice of artificial language to create those constraints. So like the adoption rate of a good game, like Uno is the same game as Crazy 8, Advanced Crazy 8s. When I was a kid, there was a game called Advanced Crazy 8s, that you could play with a regular deck of cards, and somebody figured out how to print a deck of cards that had all the rules on them physically, so you didn't need to know the rules anymore. You could just pick up the deck and understand the game. And that distance, that gap of encoding the rules in the cards so the artifacts become the physical object of the how to play, that's the interesting gap to me, where the edifice and the natural physics and all the work of creating that space is inaccessible unless you can read all that text somehow. You know what I mean? Yet it's supposed to be a natural place. And when you get the combination of those right, there's just no question the person has immediate apprehension of what to do, how to play. Like if you put a keyboard in front of kids, they will come up and hit on it and play music. They know that it makes sound, and if it's turned on, they can't resist pushing the keys and exploring music game. You see what I'm saying? And that how do you get the keys? How do you get that right up front so that that immediate invitation is a sense there to play on? I think that's the gap between role-playing games and artifice. And when I ask people all the time, do you want to play in my D&D game, which isn't going anymore, but when I would ask them, the response was like, oh no, I don't have time for that. And they don't see the value in pivoting and having an artificial world to play in that isn't constrained by the same things, and the rules are too complicated or whatever. It's unfamiliarity. It's just unfamiliarity. And so like there's something to like, how do you gamify imagining harder, as Julian put it? Because like if you could do that, you would give people the tools to apprehend every opportunity in their daily world to imagine harder. Like, because the world would become the play space, right? If you could juxtapose two cards and they would click together into an innovation that you could feel in the cards, you would start to do that in your world, I guess is what I'm saying. Thesis. Discuss.
Brandon, then I got a wrap.
Yeah, thank you. These are super interesting ideas. I did come in pretty late to this meeting just because I had another meeting I was in, but I've done a lot of D&D. I would love to explore playing at some point. What you were just talking about reminded me of this concept. An old colleague of mine, I don't know if he created it or if he coined it or whatever, but they're called meaning machines. And this reminds me of like kind of the difference between toys and games is that or games have rules. They have constraints, and toys you have like constraints in the set of interactivity, but you can do so many different things, and it's about that kind of exploration. Meaning machines are signifiers randomized into a fixed grammar, which are then read for new meanings. So Mad Libs are an example. Tarot is an example. Haruspicy, like more esoteric practices. And when we think about like games and how you can design them in a way that helps you imagine harder, I think that's one concept that really like drives it for me as I think about gaming as a form of design. It's when you provide a set of different data points that you can then just shuffle together, kind of like the design fiction deck. And then you lay them out in front of you. You create new meaning just by reacting to these.
That juxtaposition of adjacency, the stochastic thing, is what the universe does for us all the time. Brownian motion from the ground up, and then when you get to the level of it being symbolic, and you can figure out how to chain their polarity in the right way so they charge up, then you're, winning pure war, increasing logistical speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really it's concepts. Oh,
Julian's got a smile. He's got that secret smile, like he's thinking a secret thing.
No, I got a wrap. But I appreciate you guys. That was an awesome one. It's good stuff there. I'd like to see more of the gaming stuff to ponder. So, Brandon, if you got something that you just kind of like even just swirling around, please, come back and share what you've been working on or what you would like to work on. It doesn't have to be a thing that's like, hey, I'm all done. This is great.
Yeah. There are
That's
things
generative in that way, with the
I've
group.
been wanting to kind of just embed myself in the group a little bit first to like, I don't know, learn first, but I do feel like there are a lot of ideas.
Put some roots in. It's fine. Julian, Dre, I have a bone to pick with you now because you said something about rock paper scissors right earlier, and
Yeah.
I've been formalizing rock paper scissors.
I was a rock paper scissors referee for the rock paper scissors world championship.
Okay, you're the man then, because I have formalized rock paper scissors into a predictive delta time phase skip mechanic, so I can predict the future and use it to demonstrate quantum entanglement over video. So next week or whenever I get back to this place, if you have 7 coins and a Sharpie, I will demonstrate quantum entanglement over video and use rock paper scissors to do it. So basically,
Awesome.
I've invented the second age of unified cutlery. We have the King of Forks, the Queen of Spoons, and the Jack.
You need to go on Penn and Teller, fool us, man. You got to go on.
I've
Penn
been
and
working
Teller
on this long enough.
Yeah.
It's getting there. So the
All right.
Knave of Knives is in charge of all cut operations. Like basically, the king is in charge of the rock, the foundations, the resource, the material particle world. The queen is in charge of the paper. That would be the law, the strictures, the paper, right? The law of the land, and so she provides to the king a place to hold. The Queen of Spoons is abundant, so she has the spoon, but the spoon has got a shape, right? A concavity, and that defines charge in the whole universe. So she holds the basins of charge. She anchors charge, just as the king anchors mass. And so the king's mass anchor, the queen's charge anchor, results in the knave's knife, scissor doubling of the swords. And so he can cut reality into any form. And in doing so, there's this strict oscillation framework kind of linked system that gets set up by the rhetoric, and that entangles the entire system in a demonstrable level that will leave you thinking that stochastic Cartesian reality is only half of the picture. Like literally,
I have no idea what's going on, but I do have to go. So if you want to pop
That's a
into
teaser.
the donut.
Now we can solve our problems in like 45 minutes instead of right away.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
the problems have already
they're
been
already
solved with
solved.
rock, paper, scissors. It's just
They're
already
already
happened
solved in
again.
the picture.
All right, you guys.
I also have to boot. All right.
See you guys.
Baby.
Enjoy.
Have a nice weekend, all.
Yeah.
Bye.